shotguns, blunderbusses, rifles. They're fun as hell, but they're somewhat limited in terms of how you can tweak and improve them aside from stats. And then there's also your main right-hand weapons in Lies of P, and that's where things get really interesting. Lies of P technically has fewer weapons than Bloodborne overall, but it does something unique with them. Most of the weapons in Lies of P can literally be dismantled into two components, a blade and a handle. So you can then mix and match those components to make new weapons, which can be upgraded on their own, tweaking attack stats and attributes along the way. This basically means that there's kind of like infinite or nearly infinite weapon combinations in Lies of P, which leads to some really cool varieties in character performance and playstyle. Now, this ends up working really well in favor of Lies of P's emphasis on robot parts and steampunk aesthetics. There's a distinctly toyetic, kit-bashing kind of feel to the weapon system, and it helps Lies of P stands on its own, despite so much of the game feeling like a Bloodborne spiritual successor, or like I said before, a cover album. It's the kind of evolution that you would expect FromSoft themselves to implement if we ever got an actual, official Bloodborne sequel, and again, since we haven't yet, I will gladly take it here in Lies of P. So there you have it. After years and years of seemingly dozens of video game developers trying their own take on Dark Souls, we finally have a game that's specifically showing some love to Bloodborne. It's not perfect, and it's not better, but it's doing enough of its own thing that I fell in love with it for what it is, and I think you will too. If you're like me and you love Bloodborne, you want something awesome to play in between setting up your quarterly Bloodborne remaster and Bloodborne 2 summoning circles, we've all been there and I'll be there with you, definitely check out Lies of P. It's a fantastic start from Round 8 Studio and publisher NeoWiz, and I hope it becomes a franchise for years to come. So, what's your take on Lies of P? Are you playing it? Do you love Bloodborne and the Soulsborne and Souls-like genres in general? Celebrate that stuff in the comments below. And until then, for all things video games, and especially Bloodborne, stick with IGN. Good hunter.
Okay, so two things happened there in quick succession. Something that will never get old about seeing a rock land on someone's head. Hi folks, I'm Matt Easton of Scholar Gladiatoria channel and also Scholar Gladiatoria Fencing Club. I'm essentially a medieval and historical fighting aficionado, an expert if you want to call me that. I'm also an antique arms and armour dealer, and one of the other things I do is I study the original historical artefacts, the arms and the armour, so I'm a former archaeologist myself, and currently I do work with Windlass Company replicating swords and the Royal Armouries, looking at original arms and armour and then creating perfect one-to-one replicas of those. And today we're going to be looking at some gameplay, some battling, some fighting from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, looking at the arms and armour. I'm going to stop right there. So I'm really impressed that they have people standing in what looks like a guard position. So in fencing or any martial arts, it doesn't matter whether you're looking at HEMA, so historical European martial arts, which is what I do, or whether you're looking at Japanese, Korean, Chinese, whatever. Usually you hold weapons, or indeed if you don't have a weapon, you tend to have certain stances and positions that you fight from. So I like the fact that they do have thought out and specific guard positions shown. And then that first blow that comes in, he does a pretty conventional parry, as we'd call it, on an inside guard or cart, if you want to use sort of 19th century fencing terms. You can see that they consulted with people who know about historical combat, and I know that the team that work on Kingdom Come have absolutely consulted HEMA experts on this. Right, okay, I really like the detail there and the use of the left hand. So, you know what? I've got a medieval sword here, you know, as you do. So one of the things that I think not everybody realizes is when we're using swords, especially if you're just using a single sword by itself, we'll often use the spare hand. So it's great to see that you can use it for grabbing the other person's hand or arm, manipulating their body, even punching them. I wasn't too happy about that cut though, and there's a reason here. Now we're going to talk about the armour. So the guy is dressed in kind of late 14th century style armour, as far as I can see, which is a bassinet helmet with an attached aventail, it's called. So that chainmail around the neck, that's called an aventail. Now, you wouldn't be able to cut through that. You could stab through it, but you wouldn't be able to cut through it. So I'm not that happy about the cutting move specifically shown against the mail because it wouldn't go through it. Although I like his guard position, it's kind of weirdly wide. There is a guard in the Italian systems that'd be called posto di finestra, which means the window guard, and usually it's held closer to the head. The problem with holding the weapon wide is it increases your reaction time. Say someone attacks to this side of my head, it means that I've got to move the sword further to get it over there. So to be honest, this actually isn't technical stuff. As soon as you get people sparring and fencing and someone's actually trying to hit them, you'll notice that a wide position like this very quickly becomes a narrow position like this because they're trying to move as quickly as they can to either attack the opponent or defend themselves. But for gameplay purposes, I can kind of understand why maybe that makes it clearer to see. Okay, so two things happened there in quick succession, which I really, really like. First of all, a pommel to the face. A lot of people fixate on the blade, but they forget the fact that everything here is a weapon and everything on the rest of your body is a weapon as well. So you can punch, you can kick, you can wrestle, you can throw. Hitting someone with a pommel, which is where we get the expression to pummel someone, is far more effective than punching them with your fist, although this guy's got gauntlets on, so that would make it more effective. But a pommel is, it's not sharp, it's not pointy, but it's roughly equivalent to the hammer in your shed. Not going to kill you, usually, but it will open a person up for that follow-up thrust. And I really like the detail that it was a thrust as a finishing blow. In this period, 14th, 15th century, in armour, thrusts are king, because thrusts can go in gaps between armour, or indeed against chainmail or mail, they can actually go through the armour. The fact that it's thrust through is really good and realistic and historical. You wouldn't be able to cut through it, but you could thrust through it. And that's what happens here, which is great.
No, I'm not using, I'm using.
This is an interesting fight because it's asymmetrical. We're not armed the same way. So we've got our opponent has what we call an arming sword. It's called that because it's the sword that you arm with, which means get dressed essentially, when you put on your armor. We, the players, are using a flanged mace. Called that because it has flanges around here which are designed to concentrate the energy but also bite into armor that we're hitting. And we've got a shield. Now, I have to say, if a person's got a large shield and the other person doesn't, they've got a massive advantage. So on paper, the person with any kind of hand weapon, even if it was just a hammer with a shield, will have an advantage over someone who's just got a single sword because the shield is such a game changer. It's why people carried them for centuries and millennia. So although I really like, the guard positions and the way that they're moving, it does look like it's been slowed down, and I would kind of like it to be dialed up. At the moment, it looks a little bit like slow motion taking turns. I like what they're doing, I just don't quite like the speed they're doing it at. Right, I like that more, that quick flurry. So that looks more like fighting speed to me with those flurry of attacks from the mace. I also like the variety, and I like the fact they have the thrust in there, because although you might go, oh, well, the mace doesn't have a point, so you can't thrust with it, but you can thrust with anything. You can thrust with a walking stick if you like. So a thrust like this into someone's face, because it's an open-faced helmet, is going to be very effective. More effective than a punch. Smashing someone in the face with the point then opens them up to a hit somewhere else. And I really like they have that hit to the back of the leg. I wonder if they got the idea for that from talking to bowhurt or full contact armored fighters, because this hit to the back of the leg is quite favored in armored fighting because it's where you don't have very much armor.
You gotta go to like IGN, they about to show some I'm streaming that shit.
So just looking out at that scene, it's actually beautifully done. We can see an encampment, we can see baggage train, wagons. I also love the fact that we can see the liberal use of pavises or pavises, which are large rectangular shields, but essentially a large shield which you can completely hide behind. They're a bit like a door. They've got all of the key elements of Holy Roman Empire warfare visible in here. Baggage train, the encampment, obviously the soldiers, soldiers, but the large pavis is at the front for the soldiers to advance behind. In terms of how they're advancing, I have to say they're quite slow. We can't go back in time, we don't have a time machine, and we don't know how quickly they advanced on enemy walls, but bows and crossbows only really have an effective range of 200, 250 yards for the most part. Some bows can shoot further than that, but for the most part, that's the danger area, is that 200 yards between you and the enemy. You want to cover that 200 yards in a fairly rapid, not running, because you want to be behind your pavises and you want to be coordinated. I don't think they'd walk incredibly slowly while being shot at. I think they would probably do it at a brisk walk. But anyway, let's see what happens next. So one other thing that's missing here is, why aren't they shooting back? So generally, if you're attacking a fortification or a ship, one of the priorities is to try and clear enemy defenders, it's covering fire, to clear the defenders from the walls if you can, or at least get them to get their heads down. An immediate way that the attackers could reduce their casualty rates is to be shooting them back.
Now I'll show you. You can rap. Go to Twitch and then type in
There's something that will never get old about seeing a rock land on someone's head. Obviously not in real life, but in an animated and fun recreational way. But the fact that this person had a bassinet, this type of helmet on with an aventail. If a large rock hits you on the head, that's still a lot of energy hitting you in the head. So it wouldn't cave in their skull, but it very likely might knock them out, or concuss them, or damage their neck. So yeah, large heavy weights, always effective. So I've got to be honest, so far, this is the one thing which is making me really want to play this game, because I want to drop rocks on people's heads. This looks absolutely
Oh shit, yeah, so you can react to it,
I like the fact that there's the focus on trying to shoot the guys with the ladders. The game changer will be, number one, if the gate gets chopped in, so that's what the rocks were for, and number two, if those ladders come up against the wall, you've suddenly got loads of people coming up over the wall. And actually, this, again, I think is one of the great overlooked things from historical warfare, is throughout history, the predominant way of getting into an enemy castle or fortification was with a ladder. You don't need high tech, you don't need trebuchets and catapults and Greek fire, and all you need is some ladders. If you have enough people with enough ladders that are long enough to reach the top of the castle walls, well, then they're going to be in your castle. So I love the fact that ladders are prominent here. Maybe the Pavis guys should be standing in front of the guys with the ladders. Is what I'd do. Stick a shield guy in front of that guy. But anyway, it's the right idea to try and shoot the people with the ladders. So I just want to comment on this kind of slow-mo movement. I'm really surprised by how slow the bots essentially move. They walk slowly, they swing their swords slowly, they climb up ladders slowly. I think it all needs to be sped up a little bit. They just look very, very sluggish and slow-mo in all of their movements, which I find a little bit off-putting. In terms of what they're actually doing, it all looks pretty good.
Take that! Jesus!
I just love the fact that they have put guns in this game, because it's so overlooked in a late medieval setting. And it was a game changer for warfare at this time. The advantage of guns in this period is that armor won't protect you for the most part. So the powerful nature of gunpowder means that you can shoot a projectile through armor that would stop many other things. It would stop all hand weapons pretty much, and would stop most or all crossbow bolts and longbow arrows. Whereas a firearm can be powerful enough to just blast through. In terms of showing how the loading and the firing works, I would put this at about 7 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. They don't really, in my view, show all of the steps. They're simplified. Now, I do understand why they do that for gameplay purposes. If it was taking you 30 seconds to load, it would probably be really, really boring. Not at all effective in this close combat situation. And that's important as well.
Take that!
So based on what I've seen, I definitely want to play this game. It looks incredible. Clearly very, very well researched. The armor is all historically correct for the period, beginning in the 1400s essentially. The weapons are all accurately modeled. Even the guard positions, not always, but most of the guard positions are quite good. They're sort of historically inspired, even if they're not perfect, and I would tweak them a bit. I guess the question is about the gameplay, and the fighting does look a bit slow-mo to me, and I don't really understand why that would be the case. There are other games in this genre, Bannerlord for example, where you can move at realistic speed, so I don't understand why this looks quite slow. Of everything I've seen here, I would love to see the combat speed in close combat increased, but overall it looks like it has huge potential. Massive kudos to the historical research that's gone into this.
For more from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, make sure to check out the first 43 minutes of gameplay, 8 details you shouldn't miss, or 8 developer tips for surviving. And for everything else, you're already in the right place with IGN.
Well, look what's back again, the month of March, right on schedule, because that's just how calendars work.
Yes, sir, we about to get it started, man.
Along for the ride, a bunch of new video games. Who
Xbox
could have
on the road,
anticipated
doing 2
this?
events.
Well, we did,
All right.
and here are March 2025's biggest game releases. Before we get into it, just the usual caveat that we try to make these videos as comprehensive and informative and accurate as possible, but release dates do change and we have been known to make mistakes. Case in point, last month I got all riled up about PGA Tour 2K25's Legend Edition having the ludicrous price of $199.99, but that was a typo that nobody caught.
The price is wrong.
It's in fact priced at $119.99, so still expensive, but less outlandishly so. So apologies for screwing that up, and for anything else I've ever screwed up or ever will screw up in the future.
Obviously, you're not a golfer.
On a related note, we also do our best to make these videos entertaining, and it's a delicate balancing act sometimes. You make something too serious and you bore people, and you make it too silly and it annoys them, and we heard you loud and clear about last month's episode going a little too hard with the goofs and gags, so we'll try to pump the brakes on that this month.
Shh, even before you start. That was a preemptive shh.
Anyway, let's get on with the video games because that's probably what you're here for. For decades, people have been asking, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? And that answer invariably
Look at a Carmen
differs.
Sandiego
Back
game
in
coming up.
January, the infamous globe-trotting thief crept onto iOS and Android by way of Netflix games, and on March 4th, you'll be able to catch her on consoles as well. Speaking of March 4th, if you'd rather March 4th in a more regimented ambulatory sense, Age of Mythology Retold comes to PS5 that date as well, following its PC and Xbox Series release last September, and that date also sees its Immortal Pillars expansion dropping on all those platforms I just mentioned. If you'd like to immortalize some stuff in a building with pillars out front, you can do exactly that in 2 Point Museum, the latest cartoony management sim from the folks behind 2 Point Hospital and 2 Point Campus, except this time, you probably guessed, you'll be curating a museum of very silly exhibits. That's on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Still that day is Everhood 2, the follow-up to the 2021 ARPG that paired bizarre visuals with a novel musical approach to combat. That's on Switch and PC. If you prefer more conventional RPG, on March 6th you can play Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gate Rune, and Dunan Unification Wars, which may sound like a straightforward remaster of the beloved PS1 classics with some fancy buzzwords slapped on for fun, but it is in fact a remaster of the PSP port of said PS1 classics, and you can now play it on all of the modern platforms to your heart's content. March 6th is a big day for new games too. Split Fiction is the latest from Hazelight Studios, the team that gave us A Way Out and It Takes Two, and once again this is played exclusively co-op and it follows a pair of writers, one sci-fi, one fantasy, who are sucked into a simulation and forced to work together to escape. I guess you could say It Takes Two to find A Way Out. That's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Also coming to those platforms is Fragpunk, which will have a team of 5 working cooperatively to shoot the members of a different team, also comprised of 5 players, also trying to shoot them in return. That was a really clumsy way of saying this is a 5v5 shooter. But wait, hold on, before your eyes glaze over because we have so many of those, here's the hook for this one. It's got a roguelike twist, and players draw cards that add modifiers that change the dynamic, stuff like flipping the level upside down, or changing the weather to make it harder to run without slipping and falling on your ass, or activating big head mode so you can shoot the enemy teams in the heads more easily, or making little head mode so they can't shoot you as well. If you prefer a game that involves bizarre cranial maladies of this sort, but is a little less of an assault on the senses, Do No Harm is a medical simulation with a Lovecraftian twist, so you'll be treating patients for ordinary old-timey ailments and also helping them cope with the lasting effects of encounters with unthinkable cosmic horrors. That's on PC. If you think dragons suck and you want to beat the crap out of them, you can go do that in Dragonkin the Banished, a good old-fashioned action RPG set in a fantasy realm that is all messed up for dragon-related reasons. That hits early access on PC March 6th, with new-gen console versions to follow at a later date. On March 7th, if you're suffering from a bad case of WrestleMania and you've got enough money in the bank, you could beat the clock and play WWE 2K25 a whole week early by snagging the Bloodline or Deadman editions. Otherwise, the standard edition is out March 14th. That's on everything but Switch. If you'd like to play a video game that has considerably less sweaty people jumping on each other, March 7th also sees the release of Sugardew Island, your cozy farm shop. This looks like Stardew Valley by way of Animal Crossing, and you'll toil away in the fields growing cartoon fruits and vegetables to sell to the magical forest folk, befriending some whimsical characters along the way. And also, it has romance options, so hey, maybe it does involve sweaty people jumping on each other. Anyway, that's on Switch, both PlayStations, Xbox Series, and PC. On March 10th, Rise of the Ronin hits PC following a year of console exclusivity on PS5. I feel like this one came and went without much commotion, but it's a totally decent open-world samurai game, so if you can't wait 10 whole days for Assassin's Creed Shadows, or however many months for Ghost of Yotei, that's an option now too. If drinking a hot cup of matcha is more appealing to you than wielding a katana, how about a nice relaxing game about a former arena fighter retiring to manage a tea shop? Well, that's what Wanderstop looks like, but there's more going on here. It's from some of the creators of the Stanley Parable and Gone Home, and in addition to being a cozy game about making tea, it's also like the psychological kind, not the racing game. Check out the trailer for Wanderstop. It looks like it might go places. That's on PS5 and PC on the 11th. On March 13th, Dungeons of Hinterberg meanders its way onto PS4 and PS5 following its Xbox and PC launch last summer. This is also kind of a commentary on burnout, but rather than quitting an exciting violent job to do business stuff, it's about quitting a business job to go do exciting violent stuff.
Okay, they're in the apartment.
Climbing around in the Alps slaying monsters instead of climbing the corporate
Ooh,
ladder.
she in the shower?
On March 14th, you can play MLB The Show 25 by grabbing the digital deluxe.
Y'all watching this with me? Come on, man.
$99 and yes,
this it right here.
That price. You can also save $30 by waiting 4 more days for the standard edition, which is officially out for PS5 Xbox Series and Switch in 2018.
本日14時過ぎ、東京の各所にて謎の集団による暴動事件が発生しました。
Causing riots all across the they in Tokyo. Choing yoing yoing. They're on the move. Coming out the shower naked.
Creed games, they will climb stuff and stab people and then jump off of the stuff that they
Undies.
conveniently place hay bales. That's on PS5, Xbox Series, PC, and select mobile devices.
Zombies. Okay, you gotta love it.
And yet, this is clearly
Gotta love
an
it.
ancient artifact.
Also on March 20th, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive
Zombies
Edition
slaying
releases
chicks.
for
I love
Switch.
it.
This was
Oh, she got the
originally
shirt and
released
she
on
got
the
the dress.
2015,
Both of them.
Considering the Switch sold 11 times as many units
Katana
as
blade. Yeah, she ain't even gonna get dressed.
Way back when, have forgotten enough in the decade since
load
it came
screen.
out that it's probably worth a replay.
Chapter 1.
The first few months of the year are usually big for
Oh yeah, yeah. This is definitely 360 graphics right here. Yes, sir. Oh, they should really be. Like they did like I like it. Oh no, coach, she just hit her. And lingerie. Oh man, this game is definitely got my bang for my buck.
Yeah.
What? I missed out on this game. Deadly Force, hey, my boy, not Twitter. Why can't you call this shit Twitter? Deadly Force, what up? Yes, sir. Yo, I was just talking about you earlier, too, dog. Yeah, man, I found this damn game, bro. Found this shit. Yo, this shit just showed up in fucking on the homepage of Xbox, bro. Like, I was like, what? Check this shit out. I seen the cover. I was like, oh man. I seen the price. Man, I tried to put my card in. It wasn't taking my card, so I had to buy it on Webby card. Pass that for the money. Oh, cause I'm on the on my headset, bro. Oh, let me turn down the okay.
Not so great reception, but hopefully some extra time allowed this version to be
all right.
too. And hey, even if it's one of the worst,
this should be good right here, bro.
It's still something new for PSVR 2 owners, and also you can make people slip on banana peels.
Yeah, I turned down the music and the in-game music. Yeah, you know these games back then, boy, they wasn't perfect sound. Oh, boss battle. How do I throw the shurikens? Oh, she can do combos and shit. Oh, there we go. I threw the shurikens. Man, this nigga throwing zombies at me. Oh, you can toggle to the girl. Why can't I move, bro?
And man, it is so nice to see a live service multiplayer game reinvented as a cool and single player game rather than the other way around.
How do I switch between the girls?
Horrifying Souls-like. The first Berserker is coming to Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. And finally, on March 28th,
yo, I can't slice the zombies. Yeah, I can't slice the zombies.
Like if somebody created The Sims in GTA 5 and then installed a bunch of those ultra-realistic graphics mods to make the PC
there you go. Just gotta get behind him.
Isn't doing it justice. Considering what people did with the characters,
I can't kill the zombies. Yo, this camera work is crazy.
Weird stuff shows up online once that game is out in the wild. That is coming to new gen consoles later on, but there's no release window quite yet. Okay, those are March 2025's biggest.
My boy Deadly Force, man. Yo, Deadly Force, you seen the camera I DM'd on Instagram. I DM'd you like the camera I seen on Amazon for the low. Good price. You know, the starter camera.
Check it out by going to this website or click in this QR code or just Google it. Real quick before we go, I want to play another video.
Okay, I gotta throw shurikens.
Medieval experts about how historically authentic Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is, and then getting hit on the head with stuff while wearing a full suit of armor. It is one of my favorite videos I've ever been in, so please go watch that if you haven't already. Before we go, big huge thank you to Amanda Medina, Christoph Andre, and Logan Flynn for helping this video come together each
This boss battle is like, I'm not liking this boss battle. So you gotta do some other shit. You can't even kill the zombies. Oh, okay. I can slice the zombies. I had to wipe the blood off my sword. Oh, that's lit. It's fire. Okay, I like it now. Chop his ass down.
Still that day is Bubble Ghost remake. Bubble Ghost was first released in 1986. I don't know why it's so funny.
Damn. All right. cleared that chapter. Oh, I like this load. I like this. Yeah, let's.
IGN FanFest 2025 is here. From Monster Hunter Wild, the Mythic Quest.
Reach of Evil. Yeah, this kind of remind me of the first Bayonetta game. Oh yeah, hell yeah. This shit is like Dynasty Warriors. Yeah, but you know, yep, it's just like Dynasty Warriors. So with half necky wings. Oh, man. Gotta love it. Yeah, this right here, Twitch. I like Twitch. Yeah, people was on earlier. They was watching me play fucking Elder Scrolls. They was commenting and shit. People commenting and shit. It was live. I had my other boys on and shit. Dope. All right, so we get to Rome now. Well, that's true Xbox 360 graphics right here, bro. I had to do some research on the game earlier. I seen they had back in 11 years ago, they had an event for this shit.